You've done the right thing. You've insulated your ceiling. You've insulated your underfloor. But you're still cold. Best you finish the job. And to match your walls.
As I said, guys, I read a piece in one of the weekend papers, and it's seldom I read something and I just go, God, that makes sense. It was a piece about the reason to amalgamate the local body governance of Tasman and Nelson. And here was the guts of the article, that every other community group in those two areas, fire brigades, civil defence, the Rotary clubs, the sports clubs, have all amalgamated because they realised that Nelson and Tasman are the same bloody thing. And Nick Smith, the Mayor of Nelson, did a great job, maybe of talking himself out of a job by saying, why can't we do it for local government? So joining us now to discuss that is the Mayor of Nelson, or what could be Nelson-Tasman, Nick Smith. Nick, how are you?
Yeah, Boxer Bird, it's good to be on your program, Sean.
That was a great article. It was very simple and straightforward. It basically said this community's already amalgamated.
Oh, I think that's very true. And as you point out, it doesn't matter whether it's Federated Farmers or the Chamber of Commerce or our social organisations or our iwi or our government departments. Everybody treats Nelson as Tasman as one. We've got one port company, we've got one airport, we've got one state highway that comes in and out. And the other part for me, Sean, is that I actually love the dynamic that goes with town and country being together. I actually think both are richer for each other. Now, it's a big ask, getting councils to merge. The last one that was done in New Zealand was Banks Peninsula and Christchurch. And the interesting thing there is actually Banks Peninsula, the rural community, are delighted in the outcome, and no one's talking going backwards. Now, I know Auckland was quite controversial, that was done now 15 years ago, but nobody is seriously suggesting that you should sort of chop Auckland back up into a muddled group of councils. The hottest issue in local government right now is rates. There isn't a part in the country where rates are not going up faster than the rate of inflation. And having been a mayor for 3 years, everybody says to me, hey, look, what can you do to get the rates down? And my honest answer as someone who's worked within the system is the amount of duplication, the amount of waste as a consequence of our region having two councils is quite significant. The moment councils go and cut services, everybody cries foul. The really hard argument is how do you keep rates down by being more efficient? And in that case, the merger of Nelson and Tasman's a no-brainer.
All right. What would the boundaries of a merged Nelson and Tasman be? And how many people would live in that area?
It would be 120,000 people. We've each got about 60,000 each. So they're quite equal size, and we actually work together quite well. It would include, obviously, all the communities of Murchison and Golden Bay. There's very clearly the old Nelson province from the 19th century time. It's a very clearly identifiable community. The analogy I've made, Sean, because the moment you get into this argument, there are people that say, oh, why don't you just share services? Why don't you do things together? And what they don't appreciate from the outside is the bureaucracy and the cost. I describe it as doing a three-legged running race. Mayor Tim King in Tasman is a bloody good mayor. He does a good job, and we work together as best as we can. We've got quite good at running as a three-legged team, but it isn't very efficient, and as a consequence, there is cost. And I just think there's this opportunity for Nelson and Tasman in this sort of sunny central region of New Zealand to potentially have the best unit of local government in the country. We're lucky we don't have a regional council and that extra level of bureaucracy. If we had a single council for the region, we would, in my view, have a very tidy unit.
All right. Is there any work being done on this? Or was it just you had to fill some column centimetres in the newspaper?
Oh, look, interestingly, at the beginning of the year, the Chamber of Commerce commissioned a report from a woman, Janine Downing. She was the previous chief executive of Tasman. Yeah. And her report came out and said just what I said, and that was actually, at the very least, you need to do a comprehensive study on it. The truth is, Sean, that it is some of those rural communities, the Motuakers and the Murchisons, that are most hesitant of it. What they worry about is being overwhelmed by the population base of Nelson City. And the piece that you would have to do, and that's where the logical next step, if you were to merge the two councils, you would need to have strong community boards in places like Golden Bay, in Motueka, in areas like the Lakes Murchison area, to make sure they retain that local voice. I think it's quite possible and doable. I don't think it'll be a big issue. We're going into local elections in October. I don't think it would be a big issue. My hope would be that both councils would have the maturity and say, hey, look, why don't we develop the very best option we could on this and put it to a vote? And that is what I plead in that article and what I'll continue to argue for in our community. The reason I think people today are prepared to have a look at it is because under both councils, people are feeling the pressure of the increased rates, and they're actually asking a serious question: how can you do this stuff more efficiently?
All right. You had a bit of rain there yesterday.
We sure did. We had a deluge in the early morning, a bit of surface flooding, a reminder that we have to continue to invest in those basic services like stormwater. Ironically, the poor old workers that were installing the new stormwater pipe got drowned out. So we're investing tens of millions of dollars in the very area that was flooded, and the storm just got us a bit early. We need to get on with that. What was really positive yesterday, though, Sean, was the government announced $500 million for a upgraded hospital for Nelson, and that is hugely positive.
And there has been a lot of concern about Nelson Hospital and the suitability of that building. So $500 million, that's a lot of money.
That's the biggest investment that Nelson has ever had. There's a bit of argy-bargy, Sean, about the previous government basically had the proposal of doing a Dunedin, and that was just do the mega project, build a whole new hospital. And there's never a black and white in that, as to not just indifferent to a house. When do you keep upgrading it? When is it better to build new? I think in the current financial times, what the government is proposing is fair and reasonable. If we were to go to the mega build, it would be 10 years before we get the extra beds. We can't wait that long. I also, and look, sorry to be a greenie on your program, but demolishing buildings that have got more life in them doesn't make sense to me.
Oh, no, I agree.
Rich. We're not that rich that we can bowl good buildings because we would like the perfect. This is not the perfect answer, but it's a bloody good answer, and we should get on with it.
All right. Look, finally, Nick, have you been to the Sutter Art Gallery lately?
Yes, I did. I've had quite a few letters of people. So dropped in last Thursday and had a look at the exhibition that's causing a bit of aggro. The thing I'd comment about it, firstly, is it's bad taste. And asking people to walk on the New Zealand...
Can you actually walk on the flag? Has anyone actually walked on the flag, or is it like part of the exhibition, so that would be interfering with the artwork?
Oh, look, if you were really determined, you could walk on it. The sort of view, it's getting into these culture wars, Sean, and it's pretty ugly in the US. But my view would be, look, even if you had an exhibition that was inviting people to walk on the Tino Rangatiratanga flag, I would equally say that's bad taste. Why do we want to create artworks that provokes division in communities? Having said that, look, art, everybody has a different view on it. I'm not going to get into the sort of shut it down mode.
Does the council fund the Sutter to any extent?
Yeah, we do. We give them about $800,000 a year, Sean, for funding it. So it is largely funded. I would say to the Sutter Art Gallery board, look, you get public funding. You need to retain broad support. Be careful with your exhibitions that you're not just offending people for the sake of it.
You've done the right thing. You've insulated your ceiling. You've insulated your underfloor. But you're still cold. Best you finish the job. And to match your walls.